Good morning, Bishop Moore Catholic. This week we are about to dive into Holy Week. We have a beautifully long reading this Sunday at Mass. We're going to hear about Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. I personally really love this reading because I think this reading targets one of those things that all of us, probably throughout the rest of our lives, are always going to struggle with, which is, how is the Lord going to bring victory in my life? I was listening to this podcast this last week, and they were talking a little about, we have something we're bringing to the Lord in prayer, something that maybe there's a miracle in our life that we need, maybe there's someone in our family who just needs that prayer, needs God to act. What the hosts of the podcast were challenging the people listening to do is, they said not to be afraid to boldly ask God to bring something about, right? Maybe it's, whatever it is in our life that we want the Lord to act. Because what they said is that the Lord doesn't grant what we ask for. It's only because something greater is in store. Something more amazing that the Lord knows that is going to truly satisfy our hearts. How's readings answer this? Because sometimes we think there's kind of two options, let's say, that God can act, right? Either A, God can be this God that's, which sometimes it feels like kind of totally removed, super hidden, we never see. We have option number two, where, let's be honest, sometimes we prefer God who's just really involved, makes everything kind of, sunshine and roses, everything's perfect. We kind of think those are the two options. But as our Lord so often does, instead he chooses a middle road. In the middle road, what does he do? Jesus brings victory. He is a king. He has this triumphant entry into Jerusalem. But he enters on a donkey. Not this huge chariot, not this huge ginormous procession with all the kings coming, but they come here with palm branches. All the people of the city come out to welcome this king, this humble king. And where does he win victory? It's not by overthrowing the Romans. That could have been great, right? That would have probably been really nice to overthrow them, right? They were in many ways oppressing the people. But the Lord said, while it's of course important and good to be free, I want to give you a freedom that's even more lasting. I want to give you an eternal freedom. Your slavery to sin is what is truly going to destroy you, and that's where I want to bring victory. It's not that the Lord is never far removed. He never takes this stance where he's far back and away and ignores our suffering. But oftentimes he doesn't take this other stance either, right? He doesn't always come in with these amazing, incredible shows of his power and his might. Instead, he humbly comes into our lives and will bring a victory. And that's hard sometimes to believe. This is kind of a lot of what Holy Week is about. It's us wrestling with God about how he is and continue to works and will work in our lives. So it's my encouragement as you're going to Mass on Sundays, you're going to all the other beautiful Masses and services we have around Holy Week. If there's a spot in your life where you need the Lord to bring victory, bring that to him. Because maybe there's something in these readings this week where the Lord wants to show you how he's going to do that. Sadly, not often in the ways that we might think would be perfect, but it's always the way that ultimately the Lord is going to give us his peace and his love, and he knows the internal victory of bringing us to his homeland. So we need, most of all, being his kids. So I encourage you, go to everything you can. I love the Easter Vigil, beautiful service, super long, but that's so great because you get to hear the whole story of salvation history. Enter into Holy Week well. Bring the Lord what's on our hearts, and the Lord will bring victory.